Just 10 days ago, a man celebrated his 86th birthday by posting a video of himself boxing and training, looking stronger than most people half his age. He was the same man who spent decades being told he wasn't good enough, that he was too shy, too awkward, and too unpolished to ever make it in Hollywood. And yet somehow, that same quiet and deeply insecure boy from rural Oklahoma became one of the most iconic, most recognized, and most beloved figures in the entire history of American entertainment. Today, we are taking a complete look back at the extraordinary life of Chuck Norris, a story that had no business ending in Hollywood glory, but somehow did. To understand who Chuck Norris truly was, you have to start at the very beginning, and the beginning was anything but glamorous. He was born Carlos Ray Norris on March 10, 1940, in the small town of Ryan, Oklahoma. His background was modest. His mother was of Irish descent, and his father, he often said, was of Cherokee heritage. By his own account, the early years of his childhood were defined not by dreams of Hollywood, but by survival, instability, and a deeply painful home environment. The result of all this upheaval was something that would surprise anyone who later saw him effortlessly commanding a screen. A profoundly shy, deeply insecure young man who was terrified of saying the wrong thing. After graduating high school, Norris joined the United States Air Force, and it was during his posting in Korea that everything changed. Almost by accident, he discovered martial arts. He was not a natural at first. He openly admitted to interviewers that nothing came easily to him in those early training sessions. But something inside him shifted. For the first time in his life, he said, he genuinely wanted to make something of himself. He committed to long, relentless daily workouts with a discipline that would go on to define every single chapter of his career. When he returned to the United States, fellow servicemen asked him to teach them what he had learned. The first time he stood up in front of a group to speak and demonstrate, he was terrified. But he pushed through, and something cracked open inside him. That moment of forcing himself past his own insecurity was, by his own account, the single most important turning point of his life. He went on to win consecutive middleweight karate titles in 1968 and built a thriving karate school in California, whose students included Bob Barker and Marie Osmond. But the most significant student Chuck Norris ever had wasn't a celebrity looking to get fit. It was a man who would hand him the keys to an entirely different world. One of Norris's karate students was Steve McQueen, one of the biggest movie stars in the world at the time. McQueen saw something in his quiet, disciplined instructor and encouraged him to pursue acting. Around the same time, Norris met Bruce Lee at a martial arts competition, and the two became close friends. Lee cast Norris in his 1972 film Way of the Dragon, a global box office hit that reportedly grossed an estimated $130 million worldwide. Almost overnight, Chuck Norris had a film career. He followed this with a series of action films throughout the 1970s, steadily building his reputation. His first starring role came in 1977, and by the early 1980s he had established himself as one of the most bankable action stars in Hollywood, starring in films like Missing in Action, Code of Silence, and Lone Wolf McQuade. He was careful about the image he projected, deliberately steering his films away from drugs, sex, and gratuitous content, wanting his characters to serve as role models for younger audiences. Yet despite all this success, Norris himself knew that movies alone weren't the legacy he wanted to leave. The biggest chapter of his career was still to come, and it almost never happened at all. Walker, Texas Ranger premiered on CBS in 1993, with Norris playing Cordell Walker, a tough but principled Texas Ranger, dispensing justice every Saturday night. The road to air was genuinely precarious. Just 10 days before the show was set to debut, the studio that produced it shut down entirely after completing only 3 episodes. It could have been the end before it even started, but those 3 episodes aired anyway and delivered strong ratings, prompting CBS to step in and take over production themselves. The show grew steadily season by season, and by 1996 Walker, Texas Ranger had become a genuine top 10 television program in the United States. It ran for 8 full seasons until 2001, ultimately making Chuck Norris one of the most recognizable faces in American television history. He described the show as finally reaching a place where audiences genuinely didn't know what to expect week to week, balancing social issues, humor, and high-stakes drama in ways that kept millions of fans loyal for nearly a decade. But one of the most remarkable and genuinely unexpected chapters of Chuck Norris's legacy didn't come from a film set or a television studio. It came from the internet, and it came much later than anyone could have predicted. In 2005, a college student named Ian Spector began posting a series of wildly exaggerated, completely fictional facts about Chuck Norris online. The concept spread with extraordinary speed, turning Norris into one of the earliest and most enduring viral internet phenomena in the history of the web, years before social media even existed in its current form. Remarkably, Norris met Spector shortly after the meme exploded and gave it his blessing entirely. He told interviewers his favorite fake fact was, "They wanted to put Chuck Norris's face on Mount Rushmore, but the granite wasn't hard enough for his beard." The ability to laugh at himself and lean into the absurdity of his own legend said everything about who he was as a person. Away from the cameras and the internet fame, Chuck Norris spent decades quietly building something he considered far more important than any film or television role. In 1990, Norris founded Kickstart Kids, a program designed to use martial arts training to help keep young people away from drugs and provide them with the kind of discipline and self-belief that karate had given him as a young man stationed in Korea. He also served as a spokesperson for the U.S. Veterans Administration, using his platform to advocate for the service members who had, like him, served their country. He is survived by his wife Gina, whom he married in 1998 after meeting her on the set of Walker, Texas Ranger, along with his children and grandchildren. Chuck Norris was never supposed to be a star. He was a shy, insecure kid from a broken home in rural Oklahoma who found his confidence through discipline, his career through persistence, and his legacy through decades of quiet, deliberate work. The fact that he spent his 86th birthday training, moving, and pushing forward tells you everything you need to know about the man. His story is ultimately a masterclass in what is possible when someone simply refuses to accept the limits the world places on them. For a complete breakdown of the other Hollywood legends who built their careers from nothing through sheer discipline and persistence, click the video on your screen right now.